In episode 5, Princess Vivi, Nami, and Zoro are trapped in this wax house that was created by Mr. 3, while Luffy, he's just on the beach. Because you see, the paint that Mr. 3's associate uses, every color makes somebody different. And the paint that was used for Luffy just made him sad and depressed. And even though the associate was supposed to bring Luffy to Mr. 3, she, quote, wants a new toy. And that's exactly what she's going to treat Luffy as, a doll. Because she's like a child. Using her paint, she can manipulate him and have a tea party. The only one, though, in the house that isn't affected by the paint is Vivi, who knows exactly what it is. She tries to explain this to Nami, but Nami's under the influence, and what she's able to do is rub the paint off, which gets Nami out of that state. Nami tries to do the same thing to Zoro, but Zoro avoids her. Nami, though, isn't worried. She tells Vivi, Luffy will save us, but Vivi is concerned. She knows how dangerous Baroque Works is. But while Nami is banking on Luffy, the person she really needs to be banking on is Usopp, who while trekking through the jungle is able to see what Mr. 3 has in store for his friends, and it's not good. He's building a wax cake that he's planning on using to kill them. He runs to the jungle and he's able to find Luffy, but Luffy is all whacked out. And while he's trying to snap Luffy out of it, it doesn't work. Eventually, Mr. 3's associate shows up and Usopp has to take off running again. The associate continues to go on with his tea party with Luffy, and even though he is under the influence, he is able to mentally fight it off. I mean, he's telling her, I'm going to save my friends, but she just continues to get angrier and angrier, asking him, how do you like your tea? It's obvious that she's kind of annoyed. Luffy, though, is in a better situation than Nami, Vivi, and Zoro, who at this point have been taken out of the house and strapped up to that wax cake, where Mr. 3 explains to them that they are going to be his new work of art. Using Mr. 5's booger bombs, he's able to light the candles on top of the cake, and he explains to everybody that the wax is going to slowly coat the 3 of them. Eventually they will die, and it will preserve them as wax statues. Zoro is really the only hope for the group because he still has his swords. And at one point, Nami is able to convince number 3 to wipe off the paint and, quote, make it a fair fight. And when he does, Zoro snaps out of it. And you think, okay, Zoro will be able to get everybody free with his swords, but he's not able to. The wax is too strong and the group is still stuck. The wax continues to fall down and they're slowly being coated. Now at this point, the other member of the Queen Mary, Sanji, has also made his way through the jungle because he's wondering where his friends are, and he finds his way to the wax house. He's looking through it. He can't quite understand what it is. And then he hears a phone ring. And it was a secret phone. Sanji picks it up, and on the other end is Mr. Zero. Right away, Sanji knows who it is, but both phones are using a voice changer, so they can't hear each other's voice. But Mr. Zero appears to have an affinity for cigars. He's got a beard. He's got a lot of attributes like General Smoker, I'll say that much. But he wants an update on the Straw Hats. Sanji tells him, oh yeah, the Straw Hats, the princess, they're all dead. Don't worry about it. Zero then tells Sanji that he's dispatched 2 Baroque Works officers to clean up the mess, and they are Mr. 13 and Miss Friday. The weird thing about these officers is they're animals. Miss Friday is a bird. Mr. 13 is a very fashionable dog with an affinity for guns. And Sanji's like, you got to be kidding me, but he starts to fight him off. Sanji's really good at what he does, and he is able, in fact, to fight both of them off and kill them. It's not like the fight was easy, though. I mean, Sanji does take a beating to the point where when he hops back on the phone with Mr. Zero, he just says, hey, sorry, your pets are dead. At that instance, Zero knows he's not actually talking to Mr. 3. Mr. Zero gets so angry in his office that he touches a flower and it immediately dies. But when he hops back on the phone, he tells Sanji the Straw Hats will regret taking Vivi ever on board. And then Sanji starts, again, walking his way through the jungle to try to find his friends. At no point, though, does he ever come across Usopp, who is running through the jungle trying to get help when he hears a familiar scream, and it's Brogy. Because Brogy's alive. Now, he's badly injured, and he can't really help out, but he's still alive. And that's the thing. Usopp really wants his help, but Brogy explains, I can't. I'm in rough shape. But what he does do is he gives him a really, really good pep talk. He reminds him that he is, in fact, a warrior. And it's okay to be scared when you're a warrior. In fact, that actually is a good sign of a warrior. If you are scared, you should be scared. With that kind of pep talk, Usopp realizes, yeah, it's going to be all on him. and he starts heading to the area of the big wax cake, where you've got the members of the Baroque Works just needling Vivi on the fact that Alabasta is, well, things aren't going well there for her father. They are, in fact, on verge of civil war, and there are many members of the army who have switched sides to the rebellion. At one point, Mr. Five says, it's ironic, the one person that can stop this is about to die, meaning Vivi. But even after all of this, they still have hope that Luffy will save them. Unfortunately, Luffy is on the beach, beating the crap out of himself, thanks to the paint. He still, however, is not acting the way that number 3's associate wants him to act. And she gets so frustrated. She says, "What's your dream?" And he tells her, "I'm going to find the One Piece and I'm going to be king of the pirates." Yeah, she's got a paint to kill that dream. It's black paint. She puts it on him, and right away his entire mood changes. She starts telling him to go into the water because at this point, she's sick of her new toy. She's about to ruin it. Luffy, trying to fight it the entire way, is having an issue, and then all of a sudden he's snapped out of it by Usopp, who, as he was making his way to the wax cake, he came across the beach, he saw his friend, and he had to stop it. The associate gets really annoyed that Usopp is interjecting, but Usopp is able to avoid her brush and actually smack all of the paint onto her. So now she is a mental mess. But he's also able to save Luffy. The two of them then head to the location of the wax cake, but when they show up, it looks like they're too late. The wax is all but melted, and you've got 3 new wax figures. Mr. 3 is pretty proud of himself, and he rubs it in on the fact that their 3 friends probably have a couple more minutes left to live, but they're just too late. Luffy, though, wants revenge for all of this. He's going to take his frustration out on number 3, who runs into the jungle, and Luffy runs after him. And that's a surprise to Usopp. He says, "What are you doing?" But Luffy tells him, "Don't worry, you'll save our friends." And now it once again is all on Usopp. It's not just on him to save the group. It's 1 versus 2. You've got Miss Valentine and Mr. 5. But Usopp is able to convince them to just make it 1v1. Have a duel. And Usopp has a really good plan. He chooses to duel Miss Valentine, knowing that she can shift her body weight, and by doing so, she can also make her body really, really strong. He starts trying to avoid her, to make her bang the ground, breaking the wax. But eventually she catches up to him, and she starts beating the crap out of him. Luckily, though, his plan does work. I mean, he takes an absolute beating, but the harder she hits him, the more the wax cracks, and all of a sudden, his friends are saved. And they just start picking number 5 and Miss Valentine apart because at this point, it's 3 versus 2. Meanwhile, you've got Luffy, who had trekked off into the jungle to get number 3, but number 3 is really smart. He's created a bunch of wax figures, so Luffy doesn't know who to attack. And it just seems like every time he tries to attack a few of them, he just attacks the wrong one, and Mr. 3 continues to throw wax knives into Luffy. Eventually, though, he's able to lead Luffy to Dory's cave, where Luffy sees what Mr. 3 did to Dory. He made him a wax figure. And Luffy gets so annoyed, he does the thing he always does. He just tries to punch his way out of it, but Mr. 3 was ready for that, and he created a giant wax fist around Luffy's that acted as an anchor. It looked like it was going to be curtains for Luffy. But Luffy used his strength and threw one of those fists right back in the face of Mr. 3 and immobilized him. Luffy shows back up just in time to see that his friends are okay. Sanji also does the same thing. They show up late. They are, though, impressed with the job that Usopp did, because he did, in fact, save his friends. As they start making their way back to the Queen Mary, they're once again, though, reunited with 2 friends from the island, the Giants. Before he left the cave, Luffy freed Dory up. They say goodbye to their new friends, and they head off on the seas. But now they know where they're going, because Sanji was able to get an eternal pose from the Baroque Works agents that he killed. And it just so happens that it is set to Alabasta. So that's where the Queen Mary's headed. Although no one told Vivi, so she walks up to Luffy and says, "Hey, the first ship we pass, I'll hitch a ride to Alabasta. I can't keep doing this to you guys." But Luffy explains, "No, it's too late. I told Nami to set course to Alabasta. That's where we're going. We're helping you out." And Vivi is starting to realize what Nami was talking about the difference of Luffy. There's one slight issue, though. Before they actually get too far away from the island, they encounter a giant goldfish. Although their friends, the Giants, they knew about this, and they take care of it for him. They smash the water, creating a water-like blade that goes right through the fish and creates a passageway for them to continue on the Grand Line. The members of the Queen Mary enjoy a really nice dinosaur dinner that night. They toast. Nami and Vivi continue to get along. I mean, Nami really likes the fact that she just has another girl on board, but she's starting to feel sick. She excuses herself, but then she collapses on deck. But then finally back on the island, you've got Miss Valentine and Mr. 3 licking their wounds when they get a phone call from Mr. Zero. They both know that they're going to have to fess up to the fact that they just let the princess escape again, and it's not going to be a good look. And Miss Valentine wants to throw all the blame on Mr. 3, but he says, oh, no, that's not going to happen. And he puts wax all over her face before he answers that phone.
Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry. It'll be up in a day or two.